I just got my hands on Concord, the new hero shooter from PlayStation and developer Firesprite, which is launching in just over a month as of the recording of this video. This heavily Guardians of the Galaxy inspired shooter was one of the first dives into the FPS and competitive gaming space in quite some time for Sony, and while the game is only just announced and just had its first beta, it's coming out very soon, like next month. And I have to tell you guys, I'm not going to drag this out. This is one of the worst first-person shooters that I've played in a very long time. Let's talk about it. So if you've just discovered Concord, Concord is a 5v5 hero shooter, obviously first-person shooter. Again, like I said, heavily inspired by like Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy, especially Guardians of the Galaxy. It's basically Sony and Firesprite's take on Overwatch. It's a hero shooter, it's a competitive first-person shooter. We'll get into the modes and all that stuff, but the game just screams Guardians of the Galaxy. Some of the characters are just straight, I don't want to say rip-offs because, you know, inspiration, that's okay. They're very close to Guardians of the Galaxy characters, and that's fine. The character designs in this, from both like a visual perspective and a gameplay perspective, are not really the problem per se. Some people really might like the element. The universe does seem to have quality to it, but that's not why you play a competitive PvP FPS. This is essentially a game going up against games like Overwatch, games like Paladins, for the people who still play that. It's a hero shooter. It's a PvP game. That's all it is. No campaign, no single player, no PvE. It's a PvP FPS. Sony's first in a very long time. And when this got announced, I was very happy. I've been urging Sony and hoping that Sony would get into the FPS space again. They've been kind of avoiding that multiplayer and competitive space for a long time. I want that Sony quality in the FPS space, right? So when I heard this was coming to both Steam and PS5 day one, I was interested. I pre-ordered the game. But unfortunately, after playing it, I don't have much good to say about it. And I'm going to break everything down for you guys. First of all, the beta, and I'm sure the final game, which is priced at $40, by the way. This is not a free-to-play game. This is a paid PvP only FPS. So it's going against games like Overwatch, which are free, games like Apex, which are free, even though Apex is a battle royale, even though Valorant is a tactical shooter. Those games are all free, right? And they all have microtransactions. This is $40 off the rip. The beta was open to pre-orders and PlayStation Plus members. Originally, it wasn't supposed to be open to PlayStation Plus members, but they kind of added that because I think there's actually very little interest in this game, and that's not a good sign for the long-term success of the game, and we'll get there in a minute. But the gunplay in this game, let's just talk about the gameplay here. The gunplay and the movement, which is really what drives a PvP FPS. If your gameplay is not exciting, if your gunplay is not satisfying when you kill an enemy, if it doesn't feel fun to run around the maps and move and try to outplay your opponents, your game's not going to succeed. It's in the PvP space, the competitive space, it's just not going to succeed. And that is unfortunately exactly how Concord feels. No matter what, you know, there's a good number of characters there with some interesting kits and kind of design philosophies, but there's also none that really stand out or felt great to play. I switched through a whole bunch of characters, and really, I could get what they were all going for. Again, they all looked cool. They got unique designs here. Game is very polished as far as its visuals go, but the game's just not fun, and I guess that's the problem here. Like when you're shooting people, it feels like nothing. When you're being shot, it feels like nothing. It's supposed to be a game about cooperation, right? It's a hero shooter. It's a team-based game. The use of most of the abilities did not feel impactful. Like I didn't feel like exciting. Like in Overwatch, you know, say what you will about Overwatch and some of the missteps that game has had over the years. To this day, Overwatch is still the best hero shooter. Like this game, Concord, obviously has had a lot of money poured into it. It's very polished, and it has that Sony kind of seal of visual quality and like cinematic look. But the core game design and gameplay, it's not there. And that's not something that you can just fix overnight. It's not a balance issue. There are some balance issues, but that's stuff that can be fixed. Balance can always be fixed. The core gameplay of the game is not fun, period. The movement, you know, I heard some people comparing it to Destiny. it's not. Like, it does have some visual, like at some level, like, yeah, it has some of the guns look like Destiny guns, or the maps might look like location Destiny, or certain classes might look like they move. But when you actually play it, it doesn't feel nearly as smooth as that. And Destiny is how old now? Over 10 years old. And Bungie, by the way, is a master of satisfying gunplay and combat in games. They have been since what, 2001, right? But that's just it. There wasn't a single class with a single weapon. Like I saw things I wanted to try that I thought might be cool. I'm like, ooh, here's a sniper class. Not fun. Oh, here's a guy that looks like Cassidy, you know, the big revolver magnum. Not fun. Doesn't feel potent. Doesn't feel satisfying. Here's a guy that looks like, you know, looks like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. Acts like Drax. Should be fun to bully people around. It wasn't really, and that's just, it's sad because the game is this far. Like, make no mistake, this is the game that we're getting. This is a beta, and while they can make some small balance adjustments, this is the game that we are getting. This is Concord. It's already been polished up to this point. It's essentially a finished game. These gameplay systems are here to stay. The gunplay is here to stay. The movement is here to stay. They can speed it up, slow it down a tiny bit, but nothing feels good. And it just blows my mind how this game got this far in development and this polished and this finished without these core problems that the game has ever being assessed. So the basic game mode that you have unlocked at the very beginning, which is not the core mode, is just like a team deathmatch mode. That's kind of where you're going to learn the ropes of the game. That's where I spent most of my time, because honestly, I did not even want to put the time into this game to unlock the other modes. I mean, I was that at that level of not having fun. So they have like an objective hold mode as well, and they have a mode that's like kind of like a tactical shooter. Of course, it's not a tactical shooter, but seems to be like a 1 life per round mode. Again, it is not worth playing to even unlock these modes, in my opinion. And some people will criticize me for that. But if your core game, you know, it's like that old Bungie saying, it's that 10 seconds of fun and repeating it. If your core game is not fun, I'm not gonna play it. And that's the problem here. With the core design not being good enough, it releasing in a month. It's a $40 game in the PvP space against very high quality FPS competition that is free. This game is just nowhere near good enough, and it is limited to PC and PlayStation, of course, which wouldn't be a killer, I don't think, if it was a high quality game. But of course, games like Apex, Overwatch, and so on have an advantage because they are on other platforms. They're virtually everywhere. And again, there's differences within those games. There might be some people out there that like the Concord, like Guardians of the Galaxy style more than, you know, Valorant or whatever, or you get what I'm saying. There might be some people that do want to try to fit into this Concord universe or space, but I'm telling you, it's just not worth it. And I think one of the lessons here is that, you know, PlayStation has been synonymous with cinematic, high quality, polished games. Concord fits that bill, like, still, right? But the message here is, especially in the PvP and FPS space, no matter how much you wrap a game up in good looks and cool character designs and so on, that's not what's going to carry the game. And Concord is an abject failure as a first-person shooter, as a competitive game. It just does not grab attention. And what kills me more than anything is that we have this game fully finished, launch coming very soon. Meanwhile, Sony has games like IPs like Resistance, SOCOM, Twisted Metal, Starhawk, Warhawk, games with established fans and following that would make incredible entries in the shooter genre, like should be no-brainers, right? And even if they handed off Resistance to another developer instead of Insomniac because they're busy with Spider-Man and Wolverine and all that stuff, like, bring them back. It's SOCOM, you know, if there was a rumor that, even if it's not true, that's fine, that Guerrilla was going to revive SOCOM. If they're too busy on Horizon, that's fine. Find somebody to make a new SOCOM. But instead, we get this kind of lifeless, $40, not fun first-person shooter. I don't know who this game is for, frankly. Like, who is it for? Like, who's going to be interested in this game? And that leads me to the next thing. The Concord opens up with a series of story-based cutscenes. Frankly, who cares? Like, it seems like it's telling the story. Like Apex and Overwatch and Valorant, those games have light seasonal narratives and stuff, and that's fine. And they've got some lore that actually interests people. Right off the bat, they're trying to establish these, and again, high-quality cutscenes. But they're trying to establish this like cast of characters as if it's the Guardians of the Galaxy. We haven't been following these characters on any journey, but they're trying to stick us with this like these emotional moments between these characters, or like funny moments of like camaraderie and stuff on this ship. And it's like, who really cares? Like, the game's not fun. Like, we don't know who these people are. All we need them to be is well-designed characters that are fun to play. And yeah, they can have a little bit of personality, just like they do in Overwatch. They call out things during the game and stuff. That's cool. But we got these cutscenes that probably cost a lot of money to make. And again, they're good. They're high-quality cutscenes. But they're just... I never wanted to skip a cutscene so bad. Nobody fires up a competitive first-person shooter to listen to stories about the spaceship the characters are on. They just don't. So while I hate to hit you guys with a negative video, I try really hard to just avoid negative content or rage bait. You guys know what I'm about. I just had to make this one because I pre-ordered this game, and again, I was interested in it. I'm glad that Sony was making a new entry in the FPS and multiplayer space. And unfortunately, I just got to share with you guys, it's not worth your time. It's not worth your money. This game would not be worth my time or your time as a free-to-play game. It's simply not good enough. And it's sad, but I just have to say, I have to let people know that Concord it does not get the mayoral stamp of approval. I'm sorry. Don't, save your money, spend it on something else. I'd rather spend it on a skin in an existing game than on this game, because I could not be paid to play this game again. It's that lifeless. So if you want to hear me talk about games that I actually like and play and review, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm sorry again for the negative video, but I gotta be honest with you guys and be transparent. I'll have a video coming about Doom: The Dark Ages very soon, which I am very excited about. Make sure you join me on Twitch, where I give you guys previews of all of these games. I'll be streaming the upcoming Marvel Rivals beta. We've got the Midnight Mare channel, where we cover Dead Drop and Midnight Society exclusively. Check us out over there. And we'll see you in the next video, guys. Thanks for watching. Reynolds out.